Welcome to the Mushroom and Wine Festival. My name is Sherry Soria, and I'm the founder and director of Living Light Culinary Arts Institute. My husband Dan Latterman and I are also the founders of Living Light International, which is what you find here in the company store, both upstairs and downstairs on this side of the building. We have the deli downstairs, we have a marketplace, we produce events in different locations besides here, also in Costa Rica. And then we have our culinary school here, where we teach people who come from all over the world the art of creating fine, gourmet, raw, living foods. As I was telling Christopher here, one of our guests that have come to see my demonstration, we don't just teach people who are interested in eating 100% raw food. What we like to think of ourselves is as a bridge that enables people to incorporate more raw living foods into their diet without telling them that they have to give up all the comfort foods that they normally eat. In fact, many of the students who come to us are meat eaters. They're not necessarily vegetarians, but they do recognize that eating more raw fruits and vegetables will make them a lot healthier. And so we help them to do that by teaching them how to make fruits and vegetables that really taste delicious. And in fact, our motto is, we make healthy living delicious. And we don't mean that just in terms of taste, but living healthy lives makes life delicious. And that's what we're really about here. So today, in keeping with the Wine and Mushroom Festival, we have a wine pairing with Fry Wines. And we thank them for their generosity in pairing their delicious organic and biodynamic wines with our mushroom dishes today. And we will be preparing two different mushroom dishes. One is a mushroom stroganoff. Now that doesn't sound like something that you can make raw, but indeed it is. We make lots of foods without cooking that are comfort foods that very much mimic the flavor, texture, and appearance of cooked foods. And this mushroom stroganoff will be a perfect example of that. So it's in a luscious cream sauce with lots of mushrooms in it, and the noodles, which really resemble egg noodles, are actually made from zucchini. And I'm going to show you how to prepare those when I get to that recipe. I'm also going to be demonstrating stuffed mushrooms. These mushrooms will be filled with a wonderful garlic and basil and pine nut pate. And it's really lovely and fragrant, and I think that you'll like it. And that's where I'm going to begin. So I'll start by giving you the overview of the mushrooms, the stuffed mushrooms, before I begin. I am going to, first of all, be preparing the mushrooms for you. They need to be marinated. Now, most mushrooms can be served raw if they are marinated, because the salt and acid in a marinade will break down the mushroom, the cellular structure of the mushroom, or really any vegetable that you marinate. And it will soften it, and it will take on the flavor, texture, and appearance of a cooked mushroom. And that's what we'll be doing with these mushrooms. So I'm going to begin by marinating them and showing you how to prepare them to fill. Then once that's done, I'll set them aside and let the acid and salt in the marinade do their magic while I prepare the filling. Then all I have to do is fill them, and I'm going to be using a dehydrator to cook them at a very low temperature, so we don't harm any of the nutrients, the phytochemicals, or anything that is that's in the mushrooms. And that's the whole purpose of not cooking, is to maintain the integrity of the nutrients. Because when you cook foods at a high temperature, not only do you kill enzymes, which are important for digestion, but you also harm and sometimes completely kill the phytochemicals and the antioxidants, which are very heat and light sensitive. Those are the first defense against cancer, and so we really need to have them. Cancer is rampant in our society now, and one of the reasons is we just don't eat enough raw fruits and vegetables. And so by only using a dehydrator instead of an oven, we're able to maintain the integrity of those very important nutrients. So once I put them in the dehydrator, then the dehydrator just does the cooking for me, and after about an hour they're ready to serve. Now these mushrooms can be served either warm, right out of the dehydrator, or chilled and even served in a salad. It can make a beautiful part of a composed salad if you wanted to serve it that way, or as an appetizer. So either cold or room temperature or warm, it'll be delicious any way you serve it. So I'm going to begin by preparing the mushrooms, as I said, and I start with, these are cremini mushrooms. You could use regular white button mushrooms if you wanted to. They both belong to the agaricus family, and you see them actually growing in fields all around. They're a local mushroom that we can find here in our fields. And these cremini mushrooms are really like baby portobellos. They have the rich, deep flavor of portobello mushrooms. And I'm just going to brush them. I'm not going to wash them, because underneath here what you'll find is what we call gills. And this type of mushroom, this agaricus brand or strain of mushrooms, has gills that are kind of like this. You see them radiating outward from the stem. Most people think of the gills of the mushroom as looking like that. Not all of them do, and I'm going to show you one that we're going to use a little bit later that has a very different underbelly than the gills. So I'm going to start by telling you that these gills are just like a sponge, and if we put them in water, it's all the water is going to be absorbed into the gills and into the mushroom, and it will really make the mushroom soggy and filled with water, and we don't want that. So consequently, if you were going to wash the mushroom, you would definitely want to wash it with the dome up and not the underbelly up. So you could wash it that way and then wipe it with a paper towel, or because these are organic mushrooms grown in an organic medium of peat, then that's peat moss, then they could just be brushed. And this is a little mushroom brush. It looks like a little mushroom, doesn't it? Little mushroom brush. And so you can just gently, it's a very soft brush. You couldn't do this with just any kind of brush. You can just brush them and just get rid of whatever little remnants of peat there might be. Once you've cleaned your mushrooms, you can just take a hold of the stem. Now normally you could use this stem for, you could blend it, or you could, actually if you were slicing mushrooms, you wouldn't have to remove the stems. But we're going to be filling these mushrooms, so we do need to remove it. We're just going to give it a little twist, and out it comes. And now we have a little well that we can fill. Now if you are short of time, and you want these mushrooms to marinate more quickly, you can hatch mark them. And that just means this. You just make a few little marks one way, a few little marks the other way, and then they'll absorb the marinade a little bit faster. It's not really necessary if you follow your recipe, and hopefully you all have recipes in front of you. You'll see that that's not even listed on the recipe directions, because it isn't absolutely necessary that you do that. Okay, so now my mushrooms are all prepared, as you see, and I'm going to make the marinade. And as I said, a marinade is simply a combination of, well, really most importantly, two different things, an acid and a salt. And so for this particular marinade, we actually have several items here that we're going to be using. We have, for our acid, we have lemon juice. Now if you wanted it to be sweeter, you could use orange juice. That would be a good acid, or you could even use pineapple juice, which is sweet and sour both. So you could use either one of those, would be just fine. The other thing that I mentioned is salt. I have two different salty seasonings, as you'll see in your recipe. One is salt, and this is a particularly fine kind of salt here. I really love this salt. It's called Himalayan crystal salt. It's a little bit pink. It comes from the mountain range around the Himalayan region, where the air and water and everything is totally pristine. And so this is a very clean, fine quality of salt.